So I've been told a lot of times that my video camera is terrible and my skills as a cameraman are even worse. So I played a game the other day with my Beastmen against my friend's Ogre Kingdom's army. And all I did was take pictures, so I'm just gonna throw those up here and narrate them, and we'll see how that goes instead of a video report. So here we have the board, my wonderful game board in my studio. The little buildings there were all impassable terrain, and the forest in the center was a mysterious forest. My army in this game had a little bit of a different approach than my other Beastmen armies, because generally I take a level 4 wizard as one of my lords, but today, I was like, I'm just going to take a Doom Bull, see how it rolls. So I got a Doom Bull, but to make up for the level 4, I took 2 level 2 wizards, and the Doom Bull was carrying around a Herdstone shard. So what that meant was that big old block thingy in the middle of my army there generated a power die for every wizard who was hanging around it. So I figured that I could just overwhelm my opponent's magic defense with lots and lots of dice. I also had a Beast Lord with some defensive upgrades in there to be my general, and a Gore Bull with the battle standard and some more defensive upgrades. The Beast Lord was going to go in a unit of 30 Bestigors I have hiding in the back there, who had the standard of discipline, so he became leadership 10 rather than leadership 9. So he gave that to all his little buddies, which is a fun little tip that you all can use. Other than that, as my main blocks, I had a unit of 40 Gores, as well as a unit of 50 Ungores, and a block of 6 Minotaurs to hit things. Here's my deployment. I basically deployed in a big, solid line. On my deployment line there, I put my Herdstone in the middle and my 2 Bray Shamans hiding right behind it so that they could give wild form to all the guys around it. That was basically their main job. Then I had my Gores on one side, my Ungores on the other side. The Bestigors with my general were hiding in the back, so they gave leadership 10 to everybody. The Doom Bull was in with the Minotaurs, which were right next to the Ungores, and I wasn't sure where my BSB was going to go, so he was sort of hiding behind the Minotaurs, but later on he just ended up joining that unit when the game started up. So unfortunately I didn't take a picture of my opponent's army, but what he had was 2 units of Lead Belchers, units of 4 Lead Belchers I believe, 2 units of 6 Bulls, 1 unit of I think 6 Iron Guts, and then a unit of 48 Noblars in there. And this is the board right after we're both deployed. So he's deployed with his bulls in the middle, his Iron Guts right opposite those woods. He wanted to take out my Minotaurs with those as much as he could, and then his Noblars out on the side. I think he should have put his Noblars in the middle, but what he was trying to do was hold up my Ungores and my Minotaurs for as long as possible, I think, with Noblars. So the next photo, there it is after the end of turn 1 of the game. I basically moved my Minotaurs with my BSB up on my right and my Gores up on my left. My Gores were going to try to take out those Bulls for as much of the game as possible, hopefully get those Bestigors around. And the Bestigors were basically there to provide leadership to everybody. I was going to see if I could hit the Noblars with my Ungores, because Ungores are superior to Noblars in many, many ways. And from there, just try to roll up the flank with those Minotaurs. He also moved up. This is after his turn as well. He moved the Lead Belchers around the flank, try to get some shots off. And he put his Bulls behind that wall there so they'd be better more defended. So this is at the end of my turn 2, I believe. I basically charged up with almost everything. The Minotaurs charged those Iron Guts. And they got into a challenge with the Doom Bull got into a challenge with his Tyrant. His Tyrant did a wound to my Doom Bull, but I wasn't able to do anything back because Tyrants are pretty nasty. He had a 4-up ward save on that, and they had a Crown of Command, which was stubborn for the unit, which was good because I did a bunch of wounds with the Minotaurs. Last turn, I actually, his Slaughter Master, which was hiding in one of his Bull units, actually had the Ruby Ring of Ruin, which was able to cast Fireball on one of my Bray Shamans. However, he rolled a 1 to try to cast it, used 1 power dice, and failed. So my Bray Shamans were okay, and my Bestigors moved up to just block line of sight from the Slaughter Master there. And my Gores charged up to fight. So during my opponent's turn, the Gores, I'd cast Wissen's Wild Form on them, so they had +1 strength and +1 toughness. So the Gores actually broke the bulls that they were fighting with, because he rolled unluckily for his leadership test. And they overran into the next unit of bulls with the Slaughter Master in it, just over the little wall there. However, we couldn't do that round of combat because obviously it was his turn now. So he charged in his lead belchers into the front and side of the Gore unit. However, the Gore unit, because it had +1 strength and toughness, was able to do some serious damage to both of the lead belcher units and to the bull unit. Things also went really poorly for my opponent over with the combat between the Minotaurs and the Ogre Tyrant. The Minotaurs actually had enough attacks to wipe out the unit of Iron Guts that was there. And then my BSB killed his BSB because he had taken a magic banner instead of taking any magic items. So he had no defenses on his battle-standard bearer. And I also cast Wissen's Wild Form on this unit as well, so they had +1 strength and +1 toughness. However, his Tyrant, as I said, was stubborn, and he was in a challenge with my Doom Bull. So unfortunately, he's done 4 wounds at this point, so he's almost killed my Doom Bull, and I can't actually attack him, and he just keeps passing all of his leadership tests. So I'm sort of losing track of which turn corresponds to which picture at this point, but eventually both of the lead belcher units that were fighting my Gores broke and ran away or were destroyed. However, the Slaughter Master was able to cast a spell that gave the unit +1 toughness and stubborn, which made them toughness 5 and stubborn. So his bull unit refused to run away, and I couldn't do enough damage to it to actually take wounds off of it. So unfortunately, I didn't have much of a chance there. But at least the Gores were holding them there and stopping them from going anywhere else. Previously, my Ungors had actually charged the Nobbler successfully and done enough damage to break the unit, but failed to run it down. So there they are, sort of menacing each other off in the corner. And the Doom Bull did something very cinematic. He was actually he was taken down to 0 wounds by the Tyrant. However, they both had the same initiative, so they were striking simultaneously. I hadn't done any wounds to the Tyrant because he had a 4+ ward save. And so he did 1 wound to me, which would have killed me. However, I got my attacks back, and I had won so many rounds of combat, I got so many attacks back, I was able to do 5 wounds to him, and he failed all of his ward saves, and so the Doom Bull died and actually killed the Tyrant at the same time. So that was kind of a cool moment, although very unlucky for my opponent, which allowed my Minotaurs just to overrun, and now they have free reign of the almost all of the enemy units. So we were getting onto the end of the game in this photo. I had broken his bull unit finally by dispelling his +1 toughness buff, and the Gores actually overran into a single lead belcher who had passed his regroup test on double 1s, which is what he needed. So they overran into the lead belcher and eventually killed him. The other 2 remaining lead belchers moved around the side and tried to shoot at one of my Bray Shamans. They did 1 wound to a Bray Shaman, but because I was a single man-sized model, it was harder for them to actually hit me. The Gores and the Minotaurs charged the Nobblars and just wiped them out in 1 round of combat, all of them, because the Minotaurs were so buffed up from fighting the Ungors. And they basically just moved around to attack the bulls that were sort of hiding in the back there. So eventually, I mean, I couldn't kill his Iron Guts that had moved over to attack my Bray Shamans. However, that 1 Iron Gut in the back did get killed, and we were at the end of turn 6, and I charged his bulls with my Minotaurs, and he conceded the game at that point because there was nothing he could do to make any points back at all, almost. So the game was overwhelmingly a win for the Beastmen, because I mean all he had killed over the course of the game was the Doom Bull. So I had almost everything left, and I destroyed almost everything of his. There were a couple things that I think he could have done better. His Nobblars were not placed in the correct position. They really need to be up in the front so that they can hold enemy units with all of their numbers. I think he should have run them in columns of 5, just as many ranks deep as he could make it. That would have been pretty effective at just holding up units and allowing his more powerful hitter units to get the charge off and get those impact hits and do some damage. Other than that, I think I will change my list after this game. There were a couple things that I could have done differently. The Bestigors never saw combat. Their entire job was to give leadership 10 to everybody around them. And because of that, I didn't really need to be as big. I think I could save some points by dropping them down to maybe a unit of 20, just as a bunker for my general. I think with those points, I would probably buy another Bray Shaman. One of my Bray Shamans did miscast during the game and lose all of their levels, which was unfortunate because, you know, I'm losing not only power dice but also castings of Wissen's Wild Form. So I think an extra wizard would not go amiss, especially if I have that herd stone giving me power dice for all of those casters. So this has been my first sort of picture only, actually no it's not, it's my second technically, sort of picture only battle report. I hope you guys enjoyed and stay tuned for another one.